To, yeah, exactly is it means. Okay. So yeah, before going into these things, I just wanted to explain about when I'm talking to the computer. All right, so I'm writing the code in C. So assume this is a human being, right, or the developer or the user who is interacting with the system. So when I'm writing the code, I'm writing it in the English-like language. Let us see, all the syntaxes are there in, like, all the syntaxes are available in English, right? So this identifier variable, everything is in English language. So the things that we have written in English language has to be converted to this machine understandable language. Okay, machine can only understand ones and zeros, right? So
Right.
yeah, what like here we are talking to the computer. We are talking to the computer in C language. So this C language have English like syntax, right? So this thing has to be converted to ones and zeros. Okay, so it is very difficult for us to directly talk in ones and zeros because we cannot able to remember that, because there is no meaning. It is a simple combination of ones and zeros. So that is a machine language. It is very difficult for us to remember. So we choose options like C, Java, C Sharp, Python, Ruby, Scala, Kotlin. So these kind of languages we are using for every for a specific purpose. Like there are certain languages that we have. Correct. So in order to convert this C language to the machine language, so we have a middle thing, like this mediator or a middle thing that is available. So we'll call it as a compiler. Okay. So the mediator or the middle thing, we'll call it as compiler. Okay. So compiler is nothing but in any programming language. So they'll be having specific compilers. We have Java. So for the Java, they have Java C. That is a compiler, right? So Python will be having its own compiler, because the responsibility of a compiler is converting converting a language,
Binary.
yeah, to binary, yeah, to the binary, from higher level language to lower level language. So this is a piece of software. It's also a piece of software. It's also a piece of software. The task of, or the functionality of this software is to convert a specific language to another language. Okay, the source language to destination language, kind of thing. Right. This yeah. So we have different compilers. Even for C, we have a lot of compilers available. Okay, so like we have GCC, the compilers. We have GCC compiler. We have Turbo C compiler. So these kind of compilers are available. Okay. So like basically this is the thing. And coming to the environment setup. So where we're gonna actually write the code. Coming to the environment. So this is an internal thing. So we don't have to do anything with this compiler. This is just a concept, because we are writing code internally. A software is already developed, right? So whatever the code we are writing, so that is compiler will take care of this converting and task. So we don't have to do nothing about that. Okay. So actually we just have to download a software in order to write the code. That is what we call as an IDE, right? Integrated Development Environment. So we just have to download any code editor or IDE, right? So for that, I'm using code blocks here. Okay, you can use Turbo C++, or Turbo C++, Dev C++. So there are a lot of softwares available. So I'm just using code blocks.
Okay.
Yeah, environment setup. Code blocks is also a software. So in which we can write code. Okay, the C code. So first, I just wanted to talk about identifiers. Okay, so yeah, I'll show you how to, like, in this programming language. Used identification purpose. Okay. So if you wanted to identify a variable, or if you wanted to identify a function, we'll use this identifiers. Okay. So identifiers are just as like its name suggests. So we just use it for identification purpose. When I wanted to identify something, then I'll give a name to it. So that name we'll call it as an identifier. Okay. Here in C, we can use it for naming variables, functions. These kind of things we can use it for naming. Okay, so array every variable will use an identifier. So there are certain rules that are there in order to name or in order to name something. Okay, so rules for identifier. So rules for identifiers only it has to be alphanumeric. It has to be alphanumeric. Okay, and like coming to the special characters, only underscore is allowed. Only this is allowed. Okay, so apart from this,
What do you mean by alphanumeric?
yeah, alphanumeric means it's a combination of alphabets and numbers. Okay, so
Okay.
it's just so this is alphanumeric. Yeah,
Okay.
so it can be the combination of this. Okay, and so test one is possible, X is possible, X, right, X1 is possible, but you cannot start a identifier with digit. So this is not possible. This is not possible. Okay, so you cannot do this, right? The first letter should not be a number. Okay, the first letter has to be a character or an alphabet, and then uh, in between you can have the combination of numbers. Okay, and it is case sensitive. Okay, this is different from this these two. Sorry, so it's due to the font actually. So these both are different. Okay. So this is a small t in this. Like I just have to change the font so that it will be, yeah. So yeah, so this test is different from this test. So these both are different. If I can give names to two different things in this manner because it's a case sensitive, and we cannot start a first character, like we cannot have first character as number. Okay, the first letter or first digit as number. We have to start it with an alphabet. Okay, and it is case sensitive. And coming to the special characters, we only can have underscore. Apart from underscore, we cannot use anyone like at the rate, semicolon, colon. So these things are not possible. And like you can start a variable an identifier with underscore. It is possible. So this is possible. So we can have the first number or first letter as underscore. Yeah, that is possible. So and the recommended length is 32 characters. So like we can have the variable name with 32 characters length. So more than that is also we don't get any error, but it uses the readability of the code. Yeah, so that is the reason it is recommended to use 32 characters in a variable name, sorry, identifier, right? So even like we don't encounter these kind of situations where the identifier name would be that long. Yeah, so we'll try to keep these identifier names as short as possible so that it will be easier for us to call them or use them. Yeah,
So the identifier has to be either shorter or less than 32, right?
yeah. So even it is more, we don't have any problem. But yeah, basically we'll follow this. Like yeah. It has to be less than 32 characters. Yeah. So these are some things. Okay. So we can have yeah. If you we can have X. Okay. So we can have X. We can have capital X. So in this manner we can have lot of variables. Name. So this so name is an identifier. Age is an identifier. So this age is different from this age. Uh, and then space is also not available if you have if you are writing or developing something for an institution or kind of thing, and where you need to store employee details, right? So
Mm-hmm.
employee name, if you have a scenario something like this, so you cannot use space here. Instead you just have to club these things, or you can separate them by using an underscore. So this has to be followed. Okay, otherwise if we give space, it will be getting error. Okay, So this is what the case while naming a variable, sorry, an identifier. So we just have to use either underscore or just don't give anything in between. So the space is also not allowed, a thread, semicolon, colon. So these all things are not these are not possible in a identifier name, but this is possible, right? So underscore name, underscore age. So these things are possible, but this is not possible. So this is strictly no. These are like possible, so we don't get any error. This is coming to the naming. Okay, so all the variable names are nouns. Okay, now in English grammar we have the nouns, right? So name is noun. Okay, and then age is noun, city is noun. So variable names mostly will be nouns. Okay, we use this naming convention. So if you have any variable, we'll just give nouns as their names. But if you have the concept, like we have the concept of functions, I just now I have discussed, right? These functions also we can use variables. So for the functions, mostly it will be verbs. Okay, so function is nothing but it defines certain functionality. Okay, the set of functionality. So if you want to get some details, so get details is the function. Okay, if you wanted to print something, print name, print age, print phone number. So this verb is function and variable is a noun. So we just have to take care by naming these things. So all the variables we should like that. That increases the readability. So we don't be getting any error, but it will be more clear to the other developers. So you have developed a project, and if you are handing over it to other developers, then it will be easier for them to understand the code very quickly. So the variable names should be like variables are nouns, we can say, and the functions are verbs. Basically, you are defining a functionality set of instructions. You are grouping them and you are defining certain functionality over there. So that reason we just have to give in a work kind of naming convention. We just have to follow them: print name, print age, get details, uh, read input, so transfer data. So these kind of work kind of syntax we just have to use while naming function. Yeah, so this is everything about identifiers. So these are some rules, and like as we progress in this course, like daily we'll be writing some code, and we have to use the identifiers, right? So you'll get some familiarity while we're writing this. Yeah, so this is about identifiers just for the identification purpose. So if I wanted to identify a variable or a function, we'll use identifiers. uh, Only alphanumeric values are allowed while for naming for naming an identifier. Only underscore is allowed in terms of like when it comes to the special characters. Only underscore is allowed, and no space, nothing is allowed apart from underscore. And we cannot start our identifier with a numeric value, so it has to be always start with the alphabet. And like variables has to, like if we give variables as noun, then it would be good, and functions as well, then it would be good, right? So the suggested length of a identifier would be 32 characters, right? So if it is below or equal to 30, if it is less than or equal to 32, yeah, that is recommended. And more than 32, it will reduces the readability of the code. Yeah, the entire line is covering the, so this entire line in the program is covering the name, and it is very difficult to reuse it, right? Wherever I'm reusing it occupies entire line, so that increases the number of lines of the code, which is not good, right? So that is the reason. Yeah, so this is about identifiers. Okay, so this is about identifiers. So coming to the variables, uh, in like every program will be having memory, right? So memory, in order to store the values, in order to store the data, it requires some memory, right? So in the
Mhm.
application level memory, like every like what is the thing that is involved in this computing or this language concept is, so what all we'll do is, so if this is a computer, okay, if this is a human being as you, so I'll be inputting some data, I'll be inputting some data, and I wanted to perform some operations on it. Okay, so because I'm unable to do it, I'm taking the computer help. So because I'm unable to do it, I'm asking the computer help. Okay, so this computer will be performing operations on the data that we have provided to this. Okay, this computer is responsible for doing the operations on the data that we have provided. So data, it is responsible for operations. So what do I mean by operations is, so like arithmetic operations, logical operations, conditional operations, increment or decrement operations. So these kind of operations, it is the computer is responsible to perform certain operations on the data that we have provided. Okay, and it will give us the output. So we'll be inputting data, it will be giving us output. Okay, so in this manner it works. So when I'm inputting data to this software or to this program, so I require some memory to store that data. So I just need some memory in order to store this data, right? So that is what I'm talking about memory means. Okay, so this every program will be having certain memory. Okay, so this assume this is a memory. So in the memory, what happens is, so basically it is divided into memory blocks. So it's in the form of memory blocks. So memory is partitioned into certain blocks. So that is what we call as memory locations. So it is divided into blocks. It is divided into these many, like in this manner it is divided into blocks. So if we go to our file explorer, okay, so this is the logical representation of our hard disk. Okay, basically in the hard disk it is not partitioned in this manner, right? So that is a physical representation. Like in this hard disk we have the physical components, right? But in logical it is partitioned, like my hard disk is partitioned into two components or two drives. So one is having 118 GB allocation and another is having 31 GB allocation. In the same manner, so this is a logical representation of the program level memory. So each and every program will be having certain memory. So in that program level memory, we have this logical view of the memory locations. Okay, whenever I wanted to store some values in it, okay, I just wanted to perform some operations. Like I wanted to perform 4 plus 7. Okay, so these kind of operations I wanted to perform. This 4 has to be stored in the memory, and the 7 also has to be stored in the memory. And this arithmetic operation has to be performed, that is the addition operation has to be performed between these two values, and the result has to be given to the user or displayed to the user. Okay, so result has to be displayed to the user, and this result, while displaying it to the user or till it is displaying to the user, this 11 also has to be stored in the memory, right? So this 4 7 11, so everything has to be stored in the memory or maintained in the memory. Okay, so each and every memory block, so this is the block of memory, this is one block, this is another block, this is another block. So each and every block is identified with a memory location. Okay, in order to identify that memory location, we'll be having some memory address. So assume it is 1000. Okay, it is actually a hexadecimal number, but for our convenience I am just naming it as positive integer number. I am just giving a positive integer to it. Okay, so now 1001, so this is 1002, that is 1003, 1004. uh, so in this manner each and every block is identified with a memory location. Okay, so memory location address. Okay, whenever I have given this 4711, so this 4 will go and sit somewhere here. So it's random allocation. Okay, so it's completely random allocation. We cannot predict where it is going and where exactly it is storing. So it's completely random. The 4 may sit here, or the 7 may, yeah, the 7 may be present over here. Okay, which is having a memory address of 2000 assume. uh, so it's completely random. Okay, so it is very difficult for me, right? It is very difficult for me to identify this particular location with its address, because it's hard to remember the numbers. Okay, so it's hard to remember the numbers and we'll get confusion in which number which value is stored. So that is very difficult and pretty much like a headache for the developers. So in order to avoid that, so what we are doing is we are giving a name to it. So that is what we'll call as an identifier. I'm just giving a name A to it. I'm giving or I'm naming it as A. So I'm storing 4 in A, right? A is a identifier, and this particular memory block or memory location is called as an variable. Okay, so this is what we'll call as a variable. Variable is nothing but a location in the memory. Okay, this is what we'll call as a variable. So variable is a location in memory. So it's a location in the memory, right? So this is one location, this is another location. So in order to identify this particular location, it is very difficult for us if we remember the memory addresses. So in order to avoid that, what we are doing is we are just giving a name to it, right? Name for this variable. What I have given A. So whenever I call the A, so this particular memory block will be called, and the value in that memory block 4 will be presented over there in the program. So in the same way, I wanted to give B to 7, right? So I wanted to give B to 7. So I wanted to give B to 7, and then yeah, right. So when I wanted to perform some operation on this, so we can just add A plus B. That means we are not physically we are not actually performing operation on the A and B, but rather we are performing the operations on the values that are stored in that particular memory location. So what do I mean by A plus B means, when I do something like this, A plus B, so the meaning is the value inside A will be added with the value inside B. So what is the value inside A? That is 4. And what is the value inside B? That is 7. So 4 plus 7 will be added together, and it will give us a result of 11. Okay. So in order to, so 11 also will be stored somewhere. Yeah. So 11 also will be stored somewhere here. Okay. And I wanted to identify it with some other name. So I would like to give it a name of C. So I'd like to give a name C to it, right? So this is also another memory location, and so this is also another memory location. So this is an identifier, and I am identifying this particular memory location with this name. Okay, so 11. So for achieving this, in like I can write an expression something like this: C equal to A plus B. That means I'm adding A value in the A with value in the B, and I'm assigning this result to C using this equals. So this equals is here. We'll call it as an assignment operator, because this here we are doing the operation of assignment. We are doing assignment operation here, and we'll represent that assignment operation using single equals. Okay, so if you want to compare the contents of two variables or two numbers, if you want to compare, then we'll use double equals. Okay, if you use single equals, so this is called an assignment operator. Okay, in order to perform assignment operation, we'll use single equals. Okay, so here what I'm doing is I'm adding A with B, and I'm assigning the entire thing to 11. So that will give us the result of 11. Okay, so variable is also have some other meaning, right? So variable is the value can be modified, or we can change the value. So that is the actual meaning of variable. It can vary, or we can modify. So like keeping in that mind, so if I wanted to rewrite this, so what I can do is, it's not a constant. So if I give A equal to 4, that is not fixed. Okay, so if I wanted to later I wanted to change the value of A equal to 10, I wanted to assign, what will happen is this 4 will be overwritten by 10. So that's not a problem. So that is the reason it can be mutable, or it can be modifiable. Like we can modify that. There's no problem. It is mutable thing, or we can modify, we can change the value. So that is why we are calling it as a variable. Basically it's a container in the memory, like memory container or memory block or location in the memory, we can say. So this is the whole idea of a variable, is like what is a variable, and in order to give it a name, we'll use an identifier. Okay, so do you understand this variable and identifier?
Yes. Although I do have one question. When
Yeah,
you
yeah.
said equals is performing operator, right?
Assignment operator. Yeah.
Assignment operator. What about the double equals?
So when I wanted to do the relational operation, okay. So when I wanted to do the relational operation, that means I have a equal to 3 and b equal to 4. Okay. I wanted to check whether a equal to b or not. Okay. So it will compare the value of a with value of b. So
Okay.
if you want to check what is the relation, right? So whether a equal to b or not, if you want to check, then we'll use this equals operator in order to compare the content of that particular variable with this variable. So if
Okay.
yeah, if it is also 3, then I'll be getting true here. So this operation will result true for me. Okay. Otherwise, if it is 4, then this will result false for me. This will result false. Okay. So it will just compare the contents and it will give us the result. It will say whether this is true or not. Okay. Yeah. So this is the like we'll be discussing these things in operators concept. Yeah, I just wanted to explain it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is identifier, and that this is about identifiers and variables, and we have another topic, that is data types. Okay. So data types. So as its name suggests, we are representing, like, what is the meaning of data types is what is the type of data and size of data we are storing in a variable. So what is the type of data and what is the size of data that we're going to store in a variable? So if you like, in order to specify that, we will use this concept of data types. Okay. So let's say, like, what are the types of data I can have? Whether I can have numeric data. Okay. So I can have numeric data. I can have decimal data. I can have character type of data. Okay. So these kind of data I can have. Okay. So in order to specify what is the type of data I'm going to store in a particular memory location and what could be the size of that location, in order to specify these two things, we'll be using data types. Okay. If I wanted to store a equal to 10, a equal to 10 I wanted to store, then I cannot store it directly. Rather, I have to specify int a equal to 10. That means integer is a number type of data. You are specifying to the compiler that, hey compiler, I am going to store numeric type of data into this particular memory location. Okay. So in that way, you are just giving clarity to the compiler that what is the type of data I am going to store in this particular variable, so that it will be easier for performing the operations. Because in this particular variable I have stored 4. Okay. And in some other yeah, in some other memory location I have stored cf. Okay. This character I have stored, and when I try to perform, uh, like, assume this name is name of this particular memory location is k. Okay. So this is k and this is a, and if I try to add a plus k, so, like, what could be the result, right? We don't get any result because 10 plus f we cannot add, because these are not same type of data. So this is not the number type of data. So in that way, there may be more chances of getting errors. So in order to be clear with the compiler, or in order to give some clarity, provide some clarity to the compiler, we will be specifying what is the type of that particular variable, so that it will check if you are performing this kind of operation with the incompatible types, because these two are incompatible types, right? So this is a number type of data, so this is a character type of data. We cannot perform arithmetic operations on these incompatible types. So how can we know that? Like, we have written a program and it is not running, we need to know some error from the compiler that it does not work, or whatever you are doing is completely wrong. So compiler has to explain to us. So that is the reason, before storing something, we are specifying to the compiler that, hey compiler, I'm going to store number type of data into a variable. I'm going to store character type of data into k variable. I'm going to store decimal type of data into c variable, so that later when I try to perform some operations, it will be telling us you cannot perform these particular operations between these two things, because these two are incompatible. Okay. So in this manner, compiler will tell us. Okay. So for that purpose, will be specifying this data type. Okay, and like we have numeric, decimal, character data types. Coming to the numeric data types, okay, so I'll show you some table, right? So data types, it's in Java, data types in C. So we'll check some, yeah. So we have these two concepts of data types. One is int, char, float, double, and then so these things are some of the advanced things we are going to be learning about these in the later sessions. Array, structure, union, enum, pointer. So these things we'll be discussing. So first we'll focus on these primitive types. Okay. So int, char, float, double, long. So these kind of data types are available. Okay. So integer is for representing numeric type of data. So if I wanted to represent any numbers, okay, or if I wanted to store any numbers into a variable, I'll be giving int data type to that particular number, as the way that I have just mentioned here, int a equal to 10, because 10 is number type of data. So if I wanted to store character, that means I wanted to store any values like a, B, capital B, or dollar, or at the rate, exclamatory mark. So these kind of things I wanted to store into a variable. I'll be giving char a equal to, I wanted to store k into this particular block. Okay. So I'll be the character is represented with the single quotes. It has to be enclosed in single quotes. Okay, so this is the representation of a character. So whatever the characters that we have in our keyboard, everything can be represented, or everything can be stored in this character type of data. This int, char, so these are all the keywords that we'll say. So we'll come to that. Okay. So the characters, if you wanted to represent any character type of data, so we'll be declaring it with char data type, or we are giving char data type to it. So in the same way we have float and double. So float and double both are for representing float and double. So both of these are representing decimal type of data. So if I wanted to represent decimal type of data, right? So if I wanted to represent this kind of decimal type of data, right, with some precision, we'll go for float and double. Okay. So when like both are serving the same purpose, like why do we have two for the same purpose, right? So because float is with a limited size. The float, we can only have 4 bytes of size. We can only store up to 4 bytes. In the double, we can have up to 8 bytes. We can store up to 8 bytes of data. So 8 bytes of data we can store in a double variable. Okay, so if I declare a variable with double data types, I can store up to 8 bytes. That means after the decimal, how many number of digits you have after the decimal. So that is what I'm talking about, the size, the precision. So I can store up to 16 digits after the decimal if I declare a variable with double data type. If I declare a variable with float data types, then I can only store up to 7 digits. So the precision will be less. If you have the requirement of storing like capturing some clinical trial values, or some research values, or some lab values, so there you need to maintain some precision, right? So you just have to go ahead and take the double data type, right? So if it is a simple value, then we'll use float. Okay, so the same thing with the int and long. We have the normal int. So we have the normal int and we have long int. We have long int as well. So if I wanted to store some like normal data, like normal 1 2 3 4 6, like these kind of numbers I wanted to store, up to 4 bytes I can store. 4 bytes is nothing but 32 bits of data. So 32 bits of data I can store. If it is long, I can store up to 64 bits. That means 8 bytes. Okay, 8 bytes is 64 bits. So that means when I have the requirement of storing bank account number, right? So bank account number usually will be containing 13 or 14 digits, right? So and like in this manner we have like pan card number, Aadhaar card number. So when it comes to India, right, so we have these large numbers, right? So in order to store that, some serial numbers if you wanted to store, right, so all those things will go for long int data type. So if it is shorter, so if it is like we if it is like in 32 bits, then we can use this int. Basically 1 byte equal to 8 bits. So a bit is nothing but 1 or 0. So either 1 or 0 we'll call a bit. Okay. So if it is 1 byte, 8 bits. So in this manner, our int is 4 bytes. Some compilers it's 2 bytes. Some compilers it takes 4 bytes. So it's totally dependent on the compiler. So in the int case, so if it's an int, so it's totally dependent on the compiler that we are going to use. Okay. Basically it's 4 bytes. So for some compilers it is 2 bytes. Okay. So mostly it is 4 bytes. That means we can store 32 bits of data. So 8 bytes, we can store 64 bits of data. So basically, whatever the thing that we have given, that means if it is 2, then what is the binary representation of 2? 101 or 10, sorry. Right? So for 3, it is 101. So in this manner, sorry. So 3 is not 11. Yeah. 11 is 3, 1011. Right? So in this manner, this is a representation of corresponding binary values. 2 is 10, 3 is 11, 5 is 101, 5 is 101. So in this manner, each and every value is having corresponding binary value. Okay. So that means I like, what do I mean by 32 bits is if it's a combination of right, if I have 1 2 3, then what happens is 1 is having 1, 2 is having 10, 3 is 11. So that means how many values are there? 1 2 3 4 5 digits already covered. In this manner, if I have a number, each number will be having corresponding binary value. So it's not the case. Basically, we have to convert this 123 into ones and zeros. So we just have to do some LCM and we have to take the reminders and we have to do that decimal to binary conversion concept is there. So when I convert this number to binary, so I have this number. I wanted to store it some memory. So it will be basically converted into binary value. So we'll check what is the corresponding binary value. Okay. So decimal to binary converter online. Yeah. So if I give a decimal value, so you can see the corresponding. So if I wanted to convert this 123, so this is the corresponding binary number for 123. So in this manner, if this is my phone number, okay, so you can see how many bits it's exceeding more than 32 bits, assume. Then we cannot go for int. We cannot go for int. In that case, we have to go for long int because it is exceeding 32 bits. Okay, so if it is more numbers, it will take up to 64. So 64 is the max. Okay, so in that manner, we have the concept this data types. So data types, the major responsibility of the data types is it defines the type of data. That means whether it is a numeric value or it's a decimal value or it's a character value. So it will define the type of data, and also it will define the size of data. Int is having that 4 bytes, long int is having 64 bytes, sorry, 8 bytes, right, in this manner. Okay, if it is 32 bits, what happens is in the memory location, so in the memory, if this a is declared as int, it will occupy 32 bits. So it will occupy 32 bits, and I can only store the value up to 32 bits in the combination of ones and zeros. If it is exceeds, then we'll get error. So int cannot hold more than 32 bits, then we'll be getting error because in the memory, so this much of memory only allocated for int. Okay, so it cannot exceed or it cannot hold more than that. Okay, so in that case, in that way, we just have to make use of variables, data types, and identifiers. So now the complete thing, right? So if I wanted to declare anything, then I'll do int a equal to 20. That means 20 is the value, a is an identifier, int is a data types, int is a data type. This whole thing together we'll call it as a variable. Okay, so this 20 is the value in that variable. So int a we'll call it as a variable. Okay, so if I do this, I'll call it as declaring a variable. I wanted to declare some variable, so I'll do this char b, right? Int age, right? So int phone number. So in this manner, this is what I'll call as declaration of variables, variable declaration I'll call. Okay. So if I give some value to it, I'll call it initialization of the variable. Declaration means just declaring the variable. Initial, and that means reserving the space, reserving that particular memory block is called declaration. When I assign a value to it, then we can call it as initialization. Okay, declaration is nothing but reserving the some space. Okay, it may be empty initially. So if you initialize it with some value, so that is, here we are initializing, or we are providing the initial value as 20. So that is what we'll call as initialization. Okay, so in this manner we can use these concepts, or this is the basics of this language.